Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time for another PATELECAST as we look at the science, the soul, the space in between, with the man who explores both the science and the alternative sciences out there, Dr. Neal Patel. Dr. Neal Patel, welcome back again, sir.
Thank you, Paul, for having me.
Every time you're in here, I wonder if there's black helicopters are going to fly around or something here, because you get into some pretty spooky stuff here. You get into, here you are a regular trained physician. You're a doctor of osteopathy?
Correct.
And you have a very well thought of geriatric practice here in the city of Orange. Mm-hmm. But because of that, and because of who you are, you're always dabbling in what we'll call the world of alternatives, which sometimes seems a little magical and mystical to me here. And yet that's what everybody's fascinated with. We're all worried about pills and procedures. We're all looking for something beyond that. Right. And I think it's fascinating that you think of it as science and the soul. You know, there's more than just strict science here. And yet there's a lot of science about these alternatives. And today I set that up because today we're going to talk about one that everybody's going to go, oh, come on, there's no science behind this one here. Psilocybin, what I grew up knowing as magic mushrooms in my hippie days here, has really caught serious scientific attention again in the last few years. We've had people on other shows talking about it, using it for psychiatric help and anxieties and depressions and other sorts of things here. Can tripping out on psilocybin have any real scientific benefit to anybody here? Is that what we're going to talk about today?
That is right. That is absolutely
We're going to get
right.
real about psilocybin?
Yes, indeed. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk all about magic mushrooms, as they used to call it back in the day.
Yeah, right. And it was just strictly for recreation. You know, it wasn't, nobody thought there was anything, but just as cannabis, marijuana was for recreation to get high. It was, nobody thought it had any real scientific background or benefit to it. And now we know that cannabis is being used to treat all sorts of things. Isn't it, like even epilepsy?
Yes.
Like so they're experimenting here on the university campus, the University of California, Irvine, where we are. There is a cannabis research center here. They're one of the federally licensed facilities that is allowed to examine and experiment with the various medicinal benefits of cannabinoids and all that stuff. We talked about that on the last show here. So I guess, why not psilocybin? Why not experiment with that too? Because once upon a time in the 60s, there was serious thought given to using these mind-altering substances, whatever you want to call them, to perhaps deal with particularly mind issues.
Right.
Depressions, anxieties,
yeah,
those sorts of things.
Right.
What do you think? You're a proponent of this. You've actually tried this stuff. Let's start with that right there.
Absolutely. So to make it clear, yes, magic mushrooms, aka psilocybin. It is not a plant. It is a mushroom. So don't forget, there's a human kingdom or animal kingdom, as they call it. There's a plant kingdom. There is a fungi kingdom. So there's incredible breadth of different types of species.
And is it legal? I mean,
so technically, federally, it is illegal, just like cannabis.
Right.
Now, psilocybin is way behind cannabis in terms of legality, but there are different places, such as, I want to say, Oregon, it's legal. There's a couple cities in California, I think Oakland or Santa Cruz, it's legal, and then like in Colorado.
And just to be clear, that's where you did it, in some legal environment.
Correct. Right. So now, in terms of me doing it, yes, I have tried it myself, and no matter what people say, it's been pretty eye-opening and very spiritually incredible for me. It helped me feel more aligned with my life than I've ever felt before.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, that's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take apart what it is first. What I don't know that most people. It's a fungus.
Correct.
And is it a hallucinogen?
Yeah, so technically at certain doses or higher doses, it can become a hallucinogenic effect. So to go back, yes, it is a fungus. Psilocybin is the compound that's found in certain types of mushrooms that is what they call a psychedelic.
Right.
Now, it's what they call an inactive compound, which means it's not really what's triggering or connecting and binding to the brain. Psilocybin is converted into psilocin in the stomach or in the body. That is the active molecule, which then binds to different parts of the brain and the body, which then creates those psychedelic or hallucinogenic effects at certain doses. In terms of where it works primarily, it works on the brain on a receptor called 5-HT2A. It's a
Okay.
serotonin receptor. You may have heard of serotonin as the
That's
happy molecule.
Well, and that's what everybody takes, the Paxils and
Correct.
Zolofts and all the other stuff here that, full disclosure, I've taken those. You
Sure.
know, we all seem to have a residual anxiety these days here, and that seems to be one of the things they pass out like candy here. And it doesn't eliminate it, just sort of, it's sort of, what would you say? It sort of smooths over the
Yeah,
edges.
that's exactly it. If you think about it, like, you know, we prescribe so many anti-anxiety medications, antidepressants, such as, Paxil, Lexapro, Zoloft, you name it.
Right.
And you mentioned it. You said when my patients come in on these medicines, they don't feel sad, but they no longer have the ability to feel happy either. They just don't feel as much. They go a
Takes
little
off the
flat.
edges. Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
sometimes they can go flat. And are we really curing them of what's going on, or are we just putting a band-aid? And so this is where it becomes really interesting.
Because I truly I have suffered from anxiety,
Right.
severe anxieties in my life, and it's hereditary. My mother had it, and I have it. And when you get very deep into anxiety or depression, it's hard to dig out of it. You have to go through cognitive therapy, but so some of these pills help take some of the edge. It helps you bounce back. It helps you. You don't go way down the hole. You don't get overreact. It takes off. So it does have a beneficial to it, but does it sort of make us zombies? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it can. I've had patients on it for like 20 years, and you're like, what are you without the medicine? Who are
Yeah.
you without it? Because this is how you've been. And
Right.
in terms of psilocybin, you mentioned it. It's maintaining your mood, for example, or it softens the edges.
Softens the edges. Exactly.
Psilocybin has been shown to rewrite the edges, redevelop it. So imagine like classic example is if you're down a ski slope, right? You're snowboarding, people are snowboarding and skiing down the same path. So if you think about the snow, you start to see different pathways, like trails down the slope. Psilocybin, what it does, it basically creates fresh powder across that hill so your brain can now develop new trails and new types of pathways.
Rewiring somehow.
Rewire is unwiring and then rewiring. And
Because that's
really
what
cool.
so much of anxieties are.
Correct.
You've wired this thought pattern into your head. You worry, you're down, you're something. There's negative thoughts. That so much of this is about what cognitive behavior therapy, trying to retrain your thoughts, tell yourself positive things, not negative things, not the scary images, the little movies that run.
Right.
Oh my God, me on an airplane. I get panic. I get off an airplane or something. Why do you tell yourself these things here? But you've written these things. It's happened, and so you expect it to happen again, or you've written this story into your head, and I'm worried about my job, worried about my life, I'm worried about something, and you got to get out of those cycles.
Well,
those
that's
patterns
it. You've written the story, therefore your behavior, is it really, when I think about humans, are we really thinking new thoughts, or are we just rethinking and replaying the same thoughts over and over? And so the idea is you've rewritten the psilocybin. It basically deconstructs something called your default mode network. That is your default way of reacting to different environments and situations. Like you said it, if you're an anxious person, your natural reaction is to become anxious at whatever it is.
Right. And some of that can be, in my case, I know I've been to therapy. Some of
Right.
it was a trained behavior. I watched my mother do it. So therefore she was scared. So I was scared.
Right.
And she was nervous in a crowd. I was nervous. And she was nervous in an airplane. I'm nervous in an airplane. So it's a learned behavior. Some of it can be chemical imbalance, clearly. And so that's trying to restore the chemical imbalance too. So is it just a pattern that you've learned? Is it a pattern that something happened to you and now you're going to see that pattern over and over again? Something scary happened in your life, and so you think like post-traumatic stress system. You're experiencing it over and over and over and over again here. How do you break those patterns? So was it learned behavior? Was it an inherited chemical imbalance? or was it just something that an experience that you've now written into your life, and I'm going to react forever because of that experience?
Exactly. And it could be all three. And this is where it's
Right.
so tricky because as a human, the idea of psilocybin is not like a cure all, obviously. The goal is to use it as a tool, like you said, with therapy, with, self reflection. But psilocybin, I like personally for myself, I journal every day. It's been very therapeutic to see the effects of psilocybin for myself, just how I even view myself and just spirituality purposes. But over time, the whole idea is psilocybin can make you relearn the way you think, and it may change your thought pattern. So instead of you saying, hey, I'm on a flight, I'm about to get anxious, it's like, hey, I'm on a flight. Sure, I might get anxious, but I'm aware of it, and now I can control it, and I no
I'm on a
longer.
flight that's fun.
Exactly, I'm on a flight. I know what's going on. I'm not afraid of whatever you may have been
I may be
afraid of.
looking forward to it. There's nothing to say it has to be a frightening experience.
Exactly. And then the issue sometimes with a lot of people is that psilocybin sometimes gets a bad rep. They say, oh, I had a bad trip,
Right.
right? You might have seen something scary or you veer off.
Any of the psychedelic things,
Correct.
you can have because does it just bring out what's already in there, or does it take you someplace new? That's what I don't know.
That's it. There's so much buried in our subconscious and our brains. And
Right.
so you're not really going somewhere new. You're going more within to those parts of the mind that you may have kind of ignored or
Or
put
blocked,
blocked. And so when people tell me, "Hey, I had a bad trip. I will never do it."
right.
I said, "Are you sure it was a bad trip or was that what you needed to process?"
To
And it's
purge.
hard because who wants to look inside?
Yeah.
Can be scary usually.
So should it be done in a guided sense? What's the other one? Ayahuasca. We had somebody come in and talk about ayahuasca. That's another native. You have to go to like another country,
Correct.
Chile or something, to do it. I don't think it's legal anywhere in this country.
Hmm.
And it's something you drink, and it does. It's a hallucinogen, and you see spirit animals or whatever you see, But they generally say someone's got to be there, kind of holding your hand and guiding you through what are you seeing and walking you through this, rather than you're just in a room by yourself freaking out here at what you see.
Exact, 100%. Guided psilocybin therapies or at least treatments have been way more effective than just being like, "Hey, good luck."
Yeah.
Because the thing is, psilocybin, when you do quote unquote a trip or you have one of
A
those
dose,
trips,
right?
right? You might last 4 to 6 hours, and then you're fully in your senses. So it's not like you're intoxicated like alcohol for some people where they're black out. You know
Right.
what's going on. You just process. But when you're done, you're not done wiring. Your brain takes another like it could take months, but usually 4 to 6 weeks for all those wires to reconnect. So it's called integration. That process after psilocybin, that is the most important, which means you got to journal, you got to reflect, you have to make sense of what you experienced during that journey to really get those long lasting effects.
All of these, we had somebody on a year or two ago, and there's an institute that's re-experimenting with LSD. Oh my God, the most frightening one of the 60s. People jumping off buildings and bad trips and stuff here. But LSD, when it was originally proposed by Dr. Timothy Leary from Harvard and other places like that, they really did see it as a way to open your mind and explore other pathways, avenues, expand your mind, other way of thinking and stuff here. And what would that do? Sometimes you saw snakes climbing up your arm turned into a snake.
Right.
But something else might be beautiful that you see out of this too, or something. It's mind altering, it's mind expanding, it's taking you in places that you can't go without some assistance. And what does that do? Does it open your mind? Or does it terrify you?
It can be both because sometimes people may not want to change who they are because that is their comfort. And
Mm.
sometimes having to leap out of your comfort zone is fearful.
And
And
isn't that
so,
frightening to know that you're fear? I've heard this with people who are heavily overweight,
right.
and they go through gastric bypass and they gain it right back because, in some level, as much as they hated being that huge person, they thought it gave them a crutch or a comfort level. That's why nobody likes me, because I'm fat.
Right.
Oh, now I'm not fat. Nobody likes me still. What's the problem?
Yeah, that's why ultimately freedom is a curse in a sense as a person if you don't really think about it because we're ultimately responsible, and we have the ability to choose every single one of our decisions and the way we live with ourselves. But when we say, "Oh, I'm like this, I can't change
Right.
I'm
It's
helpless,"
the way I
it's
was
like,
raised. It's the way
it's
I
I blame
am. Right.
this,
Right.
right? Then it's like, well, you're choosing to stay within that discomfort or in that comfort zone. And so psilocybin, I tell people, it's like, look, it might not be pretty, but at least for me, it's been incredible. So I could only imagine for other people.
There's an old joke that somebody told on the station a number of years ago. I never forgot it. This was about financial pain, but it could be about any sorts of pain. And the guy, this is one of these typical Southern stories. Guy's a door-to-door salesman going from house to house. Comes up to this house in Mississippi. The guy's sitting out on the porch, rocking away, and there's a dog whining next to him, whining. He says, "What's wrong with your dog?" He says, "My dog? Oh, he's sitting on a nail." He's sitting on a nail. Why doesn't he get up? Well, I guess it doesn't hurt that bad.
Yeah, you see? Yep.
He's whining, but not enough to move.
That's it. So that's exactly what it is. So I tell patients, because I have patients who I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm on this medicine, I'm on this, I don't know what to do. Well, there are options, and this is part of it, because psilocybin is not only a treatment, partially, possibly even like a cure, and the science has been very fascinating to see how the brain actually rewires after it. It's actually
So
phenomenal.
it's somehow through this altering state of your mind allows the brain to rewire, but that would seem to be very delicate. You could rewire wrong, couldn't you? It could open up other pathways you don't want to go down.
Well,
It's nothing to say that just because you rewire it, you're going to rewire it right. I could rip open the wall and start playing with the wires. That doesn't mean I'm going to get them right.
well, that's the whole point. You have to troubleshoot and you have to do the homework. So that's why integration, journaling, reflecting on what you learned is how you rewire with direction versus just rewire how your brain wants it to.
So
you
can you
kind of
give a
guide it.
tangible example? I know what
Yeah,
something that you experienced and then you were able to rewire it through doing this.
Yeah, so let's see. One of
I don't know how personal you want to get here, but
yeah, it's no problem. One of on a journey that I did, I wanted to experience universal love. That's what I said.
Okay.
Okay, it sounds kind of abstract, but
Sounds like an old hippie here.
yeah, right. So I literally journaled like a week throughout, and I said, you know what? I sat down. I said, I want to experience that's it. Just want to know what it's like. Universal love. That's it. I went through my journey.
Has anybody ever felt universal love?
That's-
I mean, it's like would you go to the top of the mountaintop and sit for the guru or something here? I'm going to feel that kind of love all around me,
That's it, right? That's right. It sounds so abstract, and okay, you're crazy, Dr. Patel. How can you be a doctor doing this, right? So
Yeah.
I get it. It sounds crazy. Whatever the situation, when I went through my journey, I felt like a hug from this. I was outside in the
from
sun,
the universe.
so I felt like I have my human mom, and then I have like my nature mom, and then I have a universal mom, and I was able to feel that.
So you really
energy
felt
and
an
warmth.
all-encompassing warmth
Yes.
around you here, emanating from, we'd say, the universe, the sun, the flowers, the plants, the
Right.
thing around you. It's like, and that's what hippies says. Oh, the flowers love me. I love the plants. I love the sun. I love the people.
Right.
There's a feeling of just love in the air all around you. I don't know. I don't think I've ever felt that.
Exactly, and I felt that hug, and then and people, it's funny, it's because if you share these and they say, oh, that's crazy, but if I drink alcohol, no problem. If I take all
Everybody's
these pills,
happy. Yeah.
oh, you got wasted and blacked out. Oh, that's not a problem. They understand that, and there's no benefit to that. Yet,
No.
when you experience something abstract like universal love, that must be weird. So
and alcohol does hard things on your body.
I don't even want to talk about alcohol because that's
liver and other things and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
I mean, it really damages. I don't know why we think alcohol is so wonderful. It really dehydrates you. It's sugar. It's overloads various organs in your body, particularly the liver and stuff here. I mean, it doesn't do good things to your body.
And interestingly enough, people who are alcoholics and sometimes even harder drugs, they've used psilocybin to actually completely become abstinent on those. So
Really?
there's been a study or like experiences and people that were using like heroin, meth, whatever, alcohol.
To rewire that addictive.
Exactly. With psilocybin, they actually, because psilocybin is not only experiencing like your mental state, it's experiencing your spiritual state. So when people came out of that, they were like, they saw the spiritual damage they're doing with alcohol and these drugs more than the physical damage. So that really stuck with them.
First thing you do in Alcoholics Anonymous, or one of the first 3 or 4, not the first one is you recognize you have a problem.
Correct.
2, you have to recognize, I forgot the steps, the various steps of the,
Yeah.
but the first step, how many steps are there?
I think 12?
12 step.
Yeah,
program.
12-step program.
First step is admit you get a problem. Second is that you're helpless, you need some help, higher power or something to do it. One of the steps, 3, 4, 5, is you got to go back and apologize to everybody that you hurt.
Yeah, and that's
Because
kind
you're
of
a jerk and an asshole, and you ruined
Right.
things and stuff here, and said things, did things.
But with psilocybin, no one's been called a jerk. And if you talk about love and happiness, I don't think you'll be called a jerk. You might be called crazy, but at least not that. So
what it's a whole different reaction to the body. Alcohol is a suppressant.
correct.
And there are other things that are stimulants. It's neither one of those. It's what is a psychedelic experience? What is a mind altering? What is a
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like I said, dosing. But usually when we talk about psychedelics, you're talking about with psilocybin. When I mention unwiring of the brain, you not only unwire your thought patterns, you unwire or rewire kind of the visuals during that. That's why people hallucinate. So you have something called synesthesia, which means your senses merge. So that means I can hear color, I can taste music.
hear color.
Right? I can taste music, I can touch sound because you're now blending everything.
Oh my God.
So actually the most effective trip or journey is to close your eyes and go inward to experience the visuals that you come up with and to go inwards. And that's where you get the most mental scientific benefit.
Because it does seem frightening to me. Full as hippie as I am, I've never done psychedelics.
Right.
Because I was afraid I'm a control person and you're out of control. And I'm on this trip. I want to stop. On the airplane, I want to get off.
Right.
You can't get off. You got to ride it out.
What about alcohol though? Because people always say that I don't want to lose control, but I'm willing to drink alcohol. And there's a lot of times where people will lose a lot of control with alcohol, but because alcohol is socially accepted, it's okay for us to say, "Hey, lose control," because it's so it's interesting.
I've never been that person either. That's why I'm not a big drinker, truthfully, even though I'm Irish, because. I always love people. Oh, I was so wasted. Therefore, I can do all these things I do. I can do silly things. I can do wild things. I can say anything I want to say because I was wasted.
Exactly. So that's the thing, and that's it, right? When you think about control, where is that even coming? Why do we have to control? What are exactly? And that is a fear that people have because it is the fear of the unknown, and it is scary. But what is on the other side of fear? Right, it's the bliss, and that is a chance you have to jump off.
Really is when you do let go. Sometimes
Absolutely.
I've had a few experiences in my life like that where I just said, I'm just going to take an adventure. I'm going to go scuba diving or something. I'm just going to jump in and into the water. People say the same thing when they skydive or other sorts of things. It seems impossible, so frightening, and yet when you let go, it's just blissful.
I mean, every time you drive a car, you're letting go. No matter what you say, you got control. There's about 1,000 cars around you. How much control do you really have of what can happen, right? So, that is like the faith that we have to put not only in our cars, but obviously in ourselves. And it's scary, but I can tell you my experience, and who cares? Because your experience may be different, but I think personally, overall, people have a positive benefit versus a negative. And like I mentioned, the science is like phenomenal, to be honest, and it's being heavily studied for anxiety, depression, end of life care, because there's so many people suffering with that next step of life, which is passing away
and letting go, guilt or I didn't do this, I should have done this, I'm sorry I did this, all those things that you reflect on in your life.
Right. And that experience I mentioned about the universal mother, or that love I felt, during that journey I had, I died. Like I saw myself fade into the grass, and like I cried, but it was beautiful. But I wasn't sad because I was like, wow, this is nature. Like I didn't feel scared. I was like, wow, it made the fearful seem like calming. So that's why end of life care, it's like it can make sense of what we have such a hard time making sense of. And that's why it gives people so much peace of mind. And the truth is, some of the studies are showing like 1 or 2 doses or journeys of psilocybin can reduce or put anxiety and depression in remission up to like 60% 1 year, 2 years, 3 years outside of that experience.
Well, I should
That's
try, because
quite.
that's been a struggle my whole life here.
No, you talk to me if you're gonna. I'll prep you for that. I'll guide you through all of that. I got homework and everything. So,
Oh, my
yeah,
goodness.
absolutely. So that's why I'm a big believer. Like,
Can you do it in little doses? Do you have to do
Absolutely.
it for 4 hours? Can you just do a 40-minute trip?
that's a great question. So I'm glad you brought that up. So there is something called micro dosing,
Yeah.
where you really don't feel anything. You feel just normal. You feel like the edge might be off. And so there are studies now showing that there are benefits. Granted, the best studies, the most scientific research comes from larger doses, but obviously you have to commit the time. So microdosing, I think there is value to it, and I'm for it. In terms of side effects, when you do like heavier doses, you might get nausea, you might get upset stomach, your heart rate might start to climb because serotonin affects your gut, can affect your heart rate. Obviously, it affects the mind. But overall, you don't black out, you're not out of your senses, and the transition from being on mushrooms to back to normal is just flawless.
And I would
smooth.
think you should be off all other medications or alcohol or whatever
Well,
else.
yeah, so I'm very particular. So if patients or people are serious, I tell them, like, you will make the experience what you want it to be. So if you want to mess around and, oh, I want to trip and I want to see cool psychedelics or visuals, hey, have fun. But if you're really trying to heal yourself, then number one, if you're serious, no alcohol. Number two, if you're on certain anti-anxiety, antidepressants, we have to wean off. Obviously, if you have a history of schizophrenia, bipolar, major psychiatric issues, I can't recommend it.
Right.
And then you prepare your mindset. Ask questions. Why do you want to do this? What are you trying to answer? What are you trying to find? And what if you don't find what you're looking for? How will you feel if something else comes up? So I have all these questions, and I usually recommend people to,
And do you do it in a guided room? Are you there with them? and
yeah,
stuff?
so I would want to. Yeah, so I can't yet, obviously, because it's California, and it's just unfortunate. But we're working on things here in California, and there's a lot of research and science getting into psilocybin. So
Are there studies that people
absolutely,
can join
yeah.
and stuff
So
like that?
there, let's see, UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, has a great institute ran by Dr. Robin Carter Harris. Shout out to Dr. Carter Harris. He's awesome. I got to meet him a couple months ago. He's done phenomenal research.
Get them on the show.
Actually, that would be great if he'd be open. Maybe I should reach out.
Yeah.
But he's done phenomenal work in this space. And, the other science is showing, most interestingly now, Alzheimer's dementia. Because
Oh.
psilocybin can not only rewire, it can create neuroplasticity, which makes your neurons more plastic, aka more flexible and adaptable. So is it possible to?
Because many people are
Yeah.
saying that all of those diseases of the brain, Alzheimer's, dementia, and stuff, might partially be due, or all of it due to plaque buildup.
Correct.
And so the neurons aren't transmitting. It's like your heart is clogged. Your neural pathways get clogged with plaque and gunk and crap and stuff here, and therefore the synapses don't work. The little electrons don't transmit signals.
Exactly. It's like basically neurons are like the houses on a street. The electrical system, or the houses are like the cells. The nerves are like the telephone or the electrical wires. So you cut the wires, all the houses they go black. You can't communicate with each other.
And yet the brain can find other paths, like people who have had a
Yes.
stroke. It's hard to come back I guess in the first hour or 30 minutes or whatever the damage is done. But whatever damage they can recover, we have had a guy come in here and talk about traumatic brain injuries. And again, some people think you're done, can't
Right.
fix it. Others find ways to somehow force the brain to find other pathways to convey that information, to move the hand, to move something here. So the normal pathway is blocked or
Right.
damaged. There is apparently some ability for the brain, I don't know how it does it, to go find another little pathway around and send that signal to move the hand.
I mean, that's it. The brain is pretty smart and it's looking to survive, so it will find its way. And so psilocybin is, I wouldn't say survival tool, but it can help guide it to where it needs to go.
Open new pathways.
Open new pathways and more permanent and positive, long-lasting effects. Because people that did psilocybin even once, I forget the study, but they said they consider it top 5 greatest experiences of their lives or most positive. Yeah, they never forget it. I've never forgotten, like, my journeys as well. And like I journal on them, I document them, but I can imagine for other people who've just maybe they've tried all the other options, they've exhausted everything, and they're still not feeling how they should feel or how they want to feel, and they feel lost. And so that drives me crazy with patients because I always want to help them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, psilocybin is a drug, but what does the word drug mean? That vernacular is so outdated now, right?
It's a chemical that changes
correct.
your body somehow here. It is either a natural chemical or it's a pharmaceutical, a derived synthetic chemical
Right.
that they do all this stuff with. Well, all of these things, the psychedelics, LSD, ayahuasca, psilocybin, what other ones am I missing here? Mind-altering substances have always held out the promise to alter your mind, to open new pathways, to expand your thinking, to create new connections, to see things in a different light. The danger is clearly they can be abused, they can lead to negative, bad experiences, frightening things can happen, and that's why they shouldn't be really done just by yourself in a casual
Right.
fashion here.
It's like anything, right? There's always a pros and cons. So the whole goal of this is to educate people and let them know, like, hey, there is options. Obviously, I'm not saying go.
And that people are actually studying this, and
Oh,
it's actually
absolutely.
being looked at again as a truly therapeutic possibility. Here.
Absolutely. So for people who may be on the fence, go Google Australia. Australia has legally like nationalized it actually for, or obviously psychiatrists, certain healthcare providers can now start to prescribe it.
Right.
So Australia is like on the forefront. So it's a matter of time before the rest of the world. I mean, Dr. Sue Sisley is in Arizona. She'll be doing actual research with raw psilocybin like mushrooms. I think starting soon. So we have a lot of people doing really big things that can help not only just put a band-aid on your emotional state, but to actually heal. And that's really
And
what we're
that's
looking
what
for.
the serotonin reuptake thing, whatever it is, the things that help stimulate serotonin in your brain, the happy drug, the feel good
Correct.
thing. It doesn't alleviate the cause. It just helps smooth out the symptoms.
Exactly. You're kind of just dimming the switch, but where is the switch coming from? Like, where is
Right.
the source, right? And so with psilocybin, at least, we have an alternative, of course. And so I always recommend patients always talk to your doctor. I'm not your doctor yet, whoever's listening. I can be, but I always say, obviously, be smart, do your homework, educate yourself. This is not meant to say, hey, forget all the medicines, go
No,
go
no.
crazy and take some shrooms. The idea is explore this, especially for those who may be struggling, because it's a lot of people right now, and it's hard. A lot of people struggle.
Anxiety is the Western disease.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all are dealing with tension, anxiety, depression. We're we're trying to medicate ourselves through alcohol, maybe through cannabis, through pharmaceuticals. We're all trying to feel better, and because we are constantly in fight or flight, we're constantly being stressed, we're constantly being challenged, we're constantly being pushed, and maybe the body isn't. We haven't adapted to do that yet.
No, we have every physical luxury possible in our country, right? We can literally sit. I can sit right here, be fed. I can get somebody to clean my
Yeah.
stuff. I can get a charger. I can get everything in this moment. We have more of a spiritual crisis, our existential crisis now, because the truth is the mind needs something to follow, to work on. So when everything is given to you, the mind starts to wander. Obviously, the monkey mind
Yeah, the
tends
monkey
to,
mind,
yes,
yeah.
indeed, and especially with social media and everything else. So we have an existential crisis, and I'm a very spiritual person from before this.
We should
but
leave that for another
yeah,
day here
sure.
because we had Dr. Trin on here numerous times, and a Vietnamese doctor that's real big on Alzheimer's and research and all that. And he makes no bones about we've got to incorporate some sort of spirituality into
Absolutely.
healthcare too. Because if you're sad, you're unhappy, you don't know what the point of life is, you don't know why you're doing things and stuff, that's going to affect your health. We've got to have some purpose. We've got to have some beliefs. We've got to have some, whether it's God or the universe or whatever, there's got to be, we're all searching for some meaning. We're all searching for some purpose. We're all searching for some answers. And a world without any of that leaves us to either wander and feel meaningless, and then we try and fill it up with stimulants, sex, drugs, and rock and roll or whatever here. Or we're kind of living not a full existence here.
And that's it. And so it's easy to live, it's easy to survive. How do we thrive? And for me,
and spirituality is not something any of us ever talk about.
No, and why,
doctors never talk
about that. But like, I'm a big believer. I've been spiritual before psilocybin, so this has only kind of enhanced it. And so I personally, my patients, even on my website, it says like, my goal is to help my patients attain their highest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual success, because you need to have everything to feel as whatever complete means in a human definition.
And if you don't, your body's going to react. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be have upset stomachs and headaches and aches and pains and things here. There's something, your body seems to personify whatever your thoughts are in your head here.
Absolutely. And it's been, beautiful for me because, psilocybin, like, I can't speak on anybody else's experience. Yes, I'm a doctor saying I've done it. And so I'm sure I'll get some heat. I don't care, because it helped me. And all I want to do is help my patients, because I see it. I see the suffering, and it's tough, right? I want to help them, and they come in with the same kind of.
And again, most doctors are only equipped with two things. I'll give you a pill to cover it up, to get you through it, to take the edge off, or maybe it's a more serious issue. There's a procedure that has to be done. And I'm not against certain procedures. I'm not against certain medications to help me get through the day or whatever here. But am I really addressing the core issue?
Exactly. And like, as a doctor, medical field is very stressful. So I think I'm not saying not only for my patients, but I think healthcare providers may even benefit, because they need it too, because we all need help.
More and more healthcare providers are committing suicide.
Very high rate, and burnout. It's crazy. We're trying to help people and we're burning ourselves out. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's driving me so it is my personal desire and drive to hopefully help people and the medical community.
Well, I'd be curious to hear an episode about spirituality. How do you touch that? Because we live in a world where most of us have no spiritual thoughts whatsoever. America used to be a religious country. The Pew Research shows, they've been measuring it for 50 years. For the first time ever in the last few years, less than half of Americans belong to any sort of organization. And I'm not just saying Christianity. It could be Judaism, Buddhism, whatever. Most of them are none of the aboves. It doesn't mean they don't believe in anything or don't want to believe that they're all agnostic or atheistic or just think it's all a bunch of hooey, but there is clearly a desire for some sort of spiritual answer. So you say the soul, something beyond the body here. Others will laugh and say, no, that's just nonsense. But for the first time ever, we are not a religious, people, maybe I'm confusing religion and spirituality, but that's the way I think of it, some belief system. And most people have very little belief system and never think about it.
I mean, I feel like we've basically intellectualized spirituality out of existence, right? Because we've become we think we know so much more. Oh, we're too smart.
It's not science. You can't show it.
You can't prove it. You can't see it. So it's ridiculous. Not exist. But
spirituality is where science ends. What you can't prove, then you got to say, do you have some sort of belief? Is there another life? Does life continue? Is there a purpose to life? Is there right and wrong, or good and bad, or all those kinds of issues? Those all in the realm of spiritual things.
You gotta have some faith, right? When you get on the airplane, you gotta have that faith that, hey, this will take off and land.
So the guy knows what he's doing, and I'm going to trust him, and I'm going to put my life in his hands here.
It's almost a spiritual practice to board a plane, if you think about it. It is kind of
and to trust each other,
absolutely,
and to live a life that. Do I have any obligation to anybody else here but myself? We seem to live in a me-focused world. And I see more and more people who say, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and I'm unhappy.
That's because we're task-oriented. I mean, so I agree. We definitely need to have a video on this because I think a lot of times we get caught up in menial tasks. We checked off 20 different items. I spent 5 minutes being spiritual today. Check. No,
Right.
you cannot.
It's in my
check it.
routine.
It's not a routine.
I did my
your homework or whatever.
Yeah,
It's an experience. Spirituality cannot be taught or learned. It
I'm
must
an
be
Irish
experienced.
Catholic. I still go to church and I watch. And we all sit and pray, and we try and think of others, and we beyond ourselves, and we go out and we cut each other off and flip each other off. So we're pulling out of the parking lot. and everything.
Right.
What did we learn in that last hour here? That forced practice together. Let's come together. Think of it as a community. Think of something other than ourselves. Think of something other than our day-to-day existence here. And yet, how much of it do we carry with us when we go out the
And
door?
that's it. So that's why I think psilocybin can kind of help us bridge that gap, at least for those who may struggle with the spiritual practices, because it's number one, it's natural. It is from Mother Nature herself, just like cannabis. Like it's not like we created it. It's not we made it up. It was given. It was put.
It's not
here.
heroin, something that we invented.
Right. It was put on this earth for us in a sense, and I think with proper education and guidance, like it may help a lot of people, not only with their spirituality, but if your mind is not right, your body won't be right.
That's my whole
that's
thing,
the whole thing. The mind-body connection is like phenomenal. So if you can kind of work on
Look
the
at how you
mind,
create ulcers in your body.
imagine, right? Stress. So if you
Right.
can fix or work on the mind, who knows how many ailments you might just cure on your own in the
Exactly.
body. It's
Exactly.
kind of amazing. Yeah.
All right. Well, you've opened, cracked. Maybe it seemed kind of kooky, but maybe. And I know there's real science being
Yep.
real people experimenting, real doctors like yourself experimenting beyond just the pills and procedures here, and trying to look into a world that's more than just what Western medicine offers us today here. And that's what we're all looking for, because we all want something more. I want herbs. I want natural. I don't want side effects. I want to look at my mind and my body as connected together here. I don't want to just see that. I don't want to just go to a specialist who's going to fix my knee and that's it, and my problems go away. Maybe, but probably there's a relation to something else going on in your life here, or something else going on in your diet, or something else going on in your way you live, or whatever here.
Yeah, I think anything that can help somebody is medicine if done properly and with guidance. So I will do anything to help my patients, and like I will give them any resource I can, because like I hate being put in a box, and I cannot say, oh, you only have one option. There's got to be something.
Gotta be this.
It's got to be something that we can try. So,
One thing fits all, fixes
no
all.
way. So I'm a big believer. So I'm very excited to have psilocybin now as a tool, and it being now slowly recognized and awareness coming about it.
Experimentation.
Yes.
About it here. How do they reach you if they want to know more about your practice and what you offer here? 'Cause
Yeah,
you
so-
offer a different. You offer all the traditional stuff. You can get a pill. You can get a procedure. You can get all sorts of traditional medicine. But there's so much more that you're looking at as we look at in this show. That's what the PATELECAST.
That's right. So if you are not a patient but would like to be a patient, you
Or
can
would like to learn
or
more.
learn. I'm on Instagram and social media. So at Dr. Neal H Patel, Dr.
Because there's lots of Neal Patel.
Oh yeah, so make sure you get the right one, because the other Neal Patels may not be be talking about this. So
Right.
Dr. Neal H Patel, Patel. You can always look there and then follow me, or you can call me as well in our office
Up in Orange.
in Orange. Yes.
Thank you. Fascinating stuff. Last week cannabis, this week psilocybin. Who knows what we're going to talk about next? Red light therapies, Indian Ayurvedic
Yes,
medicine,
indeed.
all
We'll
sorts
see.
of stuff coming down the road
Absolutely.
here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, if you're like me, you're fascinated by all these alternatives. This is the place to come and experiment and learn more about them. From a real live doctor who's really looking at the science and the soul and the space in between. Right here on the PATELECAST, right here from the University of California, Irvine's Beal Applied Innovation Center on OC Talk Radio.